So I need to address this comment that I keep seeing on my videos in which these people believe the lie that the 70 weeks prophecy from Daniel has already completely taken place and that it took place during Jesus' time. So we're going to get right into that and why that is a complete fallacy, why that is untrue and really impossible to believe. So let's get right into it. My rebuttal for the 70 weeks fulfilled fallacy. So the 70 weeks prophecy was not fully fulfilled by 70 AD. It just didn't happen. This interpretation of Daniel's 70 weeks that's outlined in Daniel 9:24 through 27 contains several critical errors, particularly in conflating the Messiah's crucifixion with the destruction of the temple. The destruction of the temple happened in 70 AD, and they look at this as a single continuous fulfillment. And here's why this view doesn't hold up. Let's start off. Number one, the 70th week is distinct from the first 69 weeks, okay? So the prophecy clearly outlines a sequential timeline. There's progresses from one to the other. There's 7 weeks plus 62 weeks, which is a total of 69, and then the Messiah's appearance in Daniel 9:25. And then the 70th week is a final 7-year period involving the Messiah's death, a covenant confirmation, and the temple's desolation, which is talked about in Daniel 9:27. So they claim that the crucifixion, which happens mid-70th week, and the temple's destruction after the 70th week are part of the same 7-year period. But this ignores the gap between the 69th and 70th weeks, a gap that's necessitated by, first of all, the Messiah being cut off in verse 26 after the 69 weeks, but before the 70th week's events. It talks about the Messiah being cut off after 69 weeks and before the 70th week begins. So the temple's destruction occurring later by the people of the ruler to come in verse 26 is not Christ himself. Number two, the he in Daniel 9:27 refers to the Antichrist. It doesn't refer to Jesus Christ. They argue that Christ put an end to sacrifice at the crucifixion as it lays out in the prophecy, but the text says he will confirm a covenant with many for 1/7. And then in the middle of the 7, he will put an end to sacrifice and offering. This is Daniel 9, verse 27. Christ did not make a 7-year covenant. He established an eternal covenant, okay? This is in Hebrews 13:20. The he who stops sacrifices is the same ruler whose people destroy the temple in verse 26. It's the Antichrist. It's not Jesus. 2 Thessalonians 2:3-4 confirms this. Sacrifices didn't cease in 30 AD. They continued until 70 AD. The prophecy requires a future temple and sacrifices to be halted. As it says in Matthew 24:15, where Jesus was saying this right here. Let's look it up. So when you see standing in the holy place the abomination that causes desolation spoken of through the prophet Daniel, let the reader understand. And as we read in Revelation chapter 11, verses 1 and 2, it says, I was given a reed like a measuring rod and was told, go and measure the temple of God and the altar with its worshipers, but exclude the outer court. Do not measure it, because it has been given to the Gentiles. Now, why would the angel be telling John to go measure the temple if the temple was not intact at that time. Hey, you know, right now is a really good time in the middle of this for me to let you know that I really appreciate your support and your subscription, and I'm doing everything that I can to be able to do this full time and devote more of my time and attention to your needs, what you'd like me to cover in these videos. So thank you for your subscription, and share with a friend, and I will continue to bring you truth from God's Word, including end times prophecy and uplifting content. Let's get back to it. Number 3, the timeline just doesn't fit a 70 AD fulfillment, okay? So they claim that the 70th week spans Christ's baptism to Stephen's stoning, which happened in 30. But no 7-year time span, no matter how you try to do your math, has Christ's ministry, which was 3.5 years, and then the gap to Stephen's death. This doesn't align with the prophecy structure. The temple's destruction happened in 70 AD. So this is way after the 70 weeks would have come to an end, verse 26, not during this. So Jesus' crucifixion right around AD 33, even if we enable a little bit of leniency in the 3.5 years going until Stephen was stoned, and that's the end of the 7 years would be 37 AD. And the destruction of the temple isn't until 70 AD. So I'm pretty sure 70 minus 37 is more what would allow in that 7-year time frame. I don't know how they figure that out. There's just no way to justify that. Number 4, the prophecy's broader context points to the end times. Daniel 9:24 lists 6 goals for the 70 weeks, including to finish transgression, to seal up sin, and to anoint the most holy. Now, these things were all initiated at the cross, but are not going to be fully realized until Christ returns. The final week's fulfillment involves the Antichrist rise in Daniel 7:25 and Revelation 13:5. And it also includes a tribulation period shown in Matthew 24:15 through 21, and Christ's ultimate victory, not a first century event. Here's the conclusion. This view completely ignores the gap between the 69th and 70th week, the Antichrist involvement in the 70th week, and the future temple that is required for sacrifices to be able to cease. The 70 weeks prophecy began its fulfillment during Christ's first coming, but it is not culminated until the end times. The math just isn't insane, it's incomplete if you force 70 AD to be the end point. There's simply no way to force the math to be correct. 70 AD is way more than 7 years after the time of Jesus' ministry and entrance on the scene. So I hope this clarifies things up for you. If you have any comments or questions, just drop them down below and I'll get to them. I am beginning to address a lot of these false doctrines that I keep seeing in the comments, and I'm going to start addressing the most popular ones because I'm tired of commenting the same thing over and over again as I address some of these fallacies. So I'm going to take some of the bigger discrepancies and make a video like this to where we can look at it more in depth, and whenever I see it, I can just refer them to a video like this instead of having to waste a bunch of time saying the same thing over and over in the comments. So thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.